Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. If anyone in chat can hear me, just push one. Mic check. Can anyone hear me? Oh, I got a confirmation from Julian. Thanks for the confirmation. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 359, Space and Technology. Please hit the like button as you come in. Share the video if possible. Hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. Also, just as an FYI, we do offer IT mentorship here. If you're trying to get into information technology as a career, we do provide mentorship. If you're trying to transition from one IT role to another, we do provide IT coaching. Also, we look at resumes. We can help you out with your resume and salary negotiations. And if you want recruiting in the tri-state area, we do have Nagone 11. He offers his recruiting services. So he has Rex that comes across his desk every single time. So make sure you, if you want to get in touch with one of us, just put your comments in the comment section after the live stream is over, and one of us will get back to you. All right, we got 13 people watching, only 11 likes. We'll get started when the likes match the people watching. If you're not going to participate in the chat, just make sure you hit the like button at the very least. All right, man, we can get started. Get started with the first item on the docket. All right. All right, the first item on the docket is from CNBC.com. We covered this on the Black Tech Talk on Saturday, but I'm going to cover it again here because I think it's important. The US has nearly 1 million open IT jobs. Here's how much it can pay off to switch industries into tech. Actually, I should use that image. Also, if you want to participate in the discussion, you can join the panel with us and you want to contribute. There'll be a link in the chat. When you click on the link and you're in the waiting room, make sure you raise your hand so one of us can acknowledge you. If you do not raise your hand, you will be sitting there for a long time and no one's going to know that you're there. The tightness of the labor market has been making headlines all year, but perhaps the biggest talent crunch can be seen in the technology sector. US companies had about 918,000 unfilled IT jobs in the past 3 months. The Wall Street Journal reports, according to federal employment data analyzed by CompTIA and IT Trade Association. Part of this has to do with companies simply investing more into tech to drive business initiatives, and as a result, having to build out those departments quickly. Every company is a tech company now. Mihul Patel, CEO of tech recruiting site Hired, tells CNBC Make It. Even if you're a Capital One or Disney or American Express, you have to hire tech talent and you have to focus on building an employer brand and creating a funnel for talent. But while demand for tech workers has skyrocketed, job postings in the technology sector rose 32% in the first half of 2019 compared to the year prior, according to CompTIA. Supply hasn't kept pace, accounting for the 60,300 people who graduate with a computer science degree every year, 20,000 developers who complete coding boot camps, and even maxing out the 85,000 available H-1B visas to fill tech roles with international workers. That still leaves a major gap in talent. Companies are now spending more time and resources on competitive recruitment efforts. According to a 2019 report from ICIMS, a recruitment software provider, it took companies an average of 55 days to fill a tech role in 2016. But that jumped to 66 days in 2019. These vacancies are costly, to the tune of about $680 in lost revenue per day per vacancy, according to ICIMS data. It's taking longer, it's harder, and we're finding fewer qualified applicants to fill those positions, says Kier Ajmera, Vice President of Infrastructure Shared Services with ICIMS. Beyond hiring and recruiting, one major way companies can bridge the tech shortage is to retain or retrain current employees through their internal mobility programs. Tony Bird, 27, has benefited from such initiatives firsthand. In 2017, he was working at a coffee shop on IBM's campus in Raleigh, North Carolina, but was unsatisfied with the direction his career was going. Through networking with IBM staff, he realized working in tech was something he wanted to pursue and applied to the company's apprenticeship program. Bird has left his barista job and excelled in the one-year full-time program, and in August 2019, joined IBM's cloud projects team as a software engineer. He now earns just over 3 times what he made as a barista, which has afforded him more earning power to save for his 2 kids' college education and provide them with opportunities he didn't have. He tells CNBC Make It that identifying his own interest in electronics, taking a few coding workshops on his own, and speaking with mentors in the field helped him realize it was the right move for him. I think most people are interested in technology, phones, computers, game systems, graphics, he says. He says of easing into the field. He was motivated to master the technical skills in 1 year that most computer science grads learn in 4. I've invested a lot in my skills, studying, putting in extra hours. If you have the right skill set, that'll negotiate your career for you. Gabriel Hempel, 28, of Cincinnati, made the jump from working in pharmaceutical regulation to cybersecurity about 2 years ago. Her name is Gabrielle. I'm sorry for mispronouncing it. She paid $100 a month to enroll in a program with Cybrary, a crowdsourced cybersecurity and IT learning and career development platform. Within 8 months, she secured a role as a security analyst with Accenture, earning a pay bump of $40,000 per year than her previous job. Within a year in the field, Hempel negotiated a promotion to senior security analyst with Accenture, and she's noticed recruiting efforts are night and day compared to her previous industry. Since there's much need, sorry, since there's such a need and it's so competitive, it's easy to compare and drive your salary and benefits up. Hempel says of her newfound earning power, she estimates the salary range for the next step in her career will amount to an additional $30,000 to $40,000 in pay. So you're talking $70,000 to $80,000 more than I was making in my last industry, which is a lot. Having a background in another field actually gave her an advantage. She says, and recruiters are generally more keen to bring non-tech talent into the field. Recruiters have said it to me. We can teach people the tech skills, but we can't teach them to be interested and passionate, she explains. Hempel originally earned a degree in psychology and a minor in criminal justice. Bringing in a different perspective has been an asset to her work. Even when I started as a security analyst, I thought, why did you hire me? I have no experience in this field, she admits. But I have learned so much in the past, in the last year and a half. Everyone's unique background can bring something to this field. Security and tech are fields that touch every other field. Finance needs security, healthcare needs security, education needs technology. In addition to her day job with Accenture, Hempel also does course development work for Cybrary to come full circle and encourage other people who are just getting started in the field. Indeed, raising awareness about the different specialties and opportunities within tech is another critical component to narrowing the tech gap among younger generations. Data from ICIMS indicates app software developers are the most sought after tech workers, making up nearly 1/3 of all tech openings. They earn a mean annual salary of $108,080, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics data. Roles in the information system security, system support, and network architecture are almost in demand and command six-figure salaries. In some of the most competitive and pricey markets for tech, software engineers of varying specialties easily earn upwards of up to $150,000 according to hired data. So we went over this on Saturday, but I just wanted to reiterate it because there are some people who are here tonight that were not there over the weekend. My position on this is that if you want to fix this industry, then what you need to do is hire more African Americans. African Americans, especially Black males, are least represented in these fields. So there needs to be more outreach to predominantly Black neighborhoods. I find it interesting that they are so willing to bring in 85,000 H-1B visas, but don't want to even have a similar number in terms of recruiting on the IT side to more ADOS people or foundational Black Americans. We also have the consigliere, the Golden 11 from the Big Apple. I think Nagon may be occupied right now. So these recs are sitting on these are these recs for these recruiters are sitting in the queue for 55 to 80 days. So you're talking about at least half a year, close to half a year, these recs will sit probably going into next year unfilled. But the thing is, like the article said about Tony Bird, who was a barista at Starbucks, and I've seen this before, and I think this is a Black man that they're talking about. He was trained for 1 year through IBM's internship program and then brought on as a software engineer. If you did that more often in predominantly Black areas, you wouldn't have so much of a or you would at the very least decrease the amount of unfilled positions. But there seems to be an unwillingness to even cooperate with them.
Mike, I don't know. I was off for a second. I had to take care of something, but man, you're hitting it right in the head. That's bottom line right there. Those recs will sit there for the amount of recs that are open right now. They'll be open for the next 10 years. People don't really understand that. That's how wide open it is. And what you're talking about is people who were a barista over at Starbucks who were sitting there with a college degree to serve coffee, but now all of a sudden they've switched over, got some skills in programming or on the DBA side, and next you know they're working and making some pretty nice bread. It's exactly how this thing is going down. And yeah, I can tell you right now, a lot of companies that I'm working with right now, it's kind of difficult. They got a lot of tech recs that have been sitting open for a year, 2 years. They bring in a consultant. The consultant takes off. They got another consultant coming in, and they take off. And you just do not. these are supposed to be full-time positions, and you have consultants coming in and handling this stuff, and that's where we're at. The H-1B visa thing has been hit pretty hard, so a lot of Indians and so forth are not coming over in the numbers that they were. So they're going to be more and more recs sitting open. That's what's going on. Mike, are you kind of seeing that where you are?
Absolutely. We are seeing roles in most of the tech sectors, and not even just the tech sectors, but just across all the vertical industries not being fulfilled. I talked to a hiring manager back in the summer, and he has been looking for a basic coder for 2 years now. Can't find them. They want a minority person, so they actually contacted me, and I said that's not my bag, but they said they're going to leave the rec open for, it's been open since 2016, 2017, and they haven't been able to find anybody. Part of this issue is that a lot of your foundational Black Americans aren't introduced into that skill set, and the other half is they're just going to wait until they find that person. But it's a chicken and egg sort of argument here.
What type of rec is it again?
I think it's like a basic coder, what we would call a junior software developer, basically somebody who knows JavaScript, who knows
Okay.
the typical languages like Python. You don't need to be an expert. You just need to have some literacy behind it. And that's why on these live streams, I always stress literacy. Go read about some of these articles. That's why we post a docket so that you can go back and refer to it, because there's a lot of wealth of information in some of these articles. You can go to Linux Foundation. You can go to Udacity. You can go to Udemy. There's a lot of platforms out there for you to learn how to code. And the article just said coding jobs are the biggest, hardest jobs to fulfill, and they can't find enough of them. So I believe the article, and I believe you, Nagone, because you have recs that come across your desk. Blockchain developer, can't find them.
Man, I've got stuff going. You wouldn't believe some of the stuff that I have that I'm dealing with one company that's been dealing with consultants, ETL developers. So I'm dealing with some crazy shit.
ETL stands for, people in the chat now understand what ETL stands for, extract, transfer, and load. These are like the basics of DBAs and data analysis.
They're looking for good people in that, and they're having issues. I can't get into you with some of the stuff that's out here. I tell you, there's over 1 million recs sitting wide open right now in the United States. People they just don't understand. This has been the case now for years. And like I said, it's going to take a decade to fill most of this stuff. I don't think it's going to get filled. Not the way things are moving right now. And yeah, I hate to say it, man, but cutting back the H-1Bs and everything else like that, for a lot of these companies, it's a problem. It's a problem. Especially Americans are not stepping up and filling. Most of your developers and so forth that are in this country are not American. Most of them are not. Most of them are not. And as far as ADOS, Afro-Americans, we are just not in the game the way we need to be. We're just not there. And I know it's a function of our school systems that have failed in the cities. I understand. I certainly understand that. And that shows you just how our country and our nation that does not really help to work with our community is really holding us back as a society. So with us brothers here, we have to really press a lot of brothers who are game to get into this to really kind of push this stuff hard, really start to learn stuff and learn and go online and look at jobs, try to come into the entry level and start out at the most menial role, but then you can move up. So because you move up a lot faster than you might think. But anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. Anyway,
I know you get frustrated. You got recs sitting on your desk, man. That's money that's not coming in for you because those roles are not getting fulfilled. And
what are you kidding? I got close to $600,000 sitting on my table right now. $600,000 worth of stuff that I could fill. It's over $500,000. If I can knock it out in the next 2 months, I could get that. But that's the difficulty about this. This is just where we're at. I mean, a lot of recruiters are dealing with the same thing. It's a candidate-driven market right now, so you really have to find candidates, and a lot of us are shooting in the same pool to find some of the same people, and you have to really go out. And now the recruiting job becomes a little more difficult because now you have to go into companies, pull them out, and move them to another company. That might be better. So it's a more difficult job, and it is what it is.
Yeah. Let's go to Sean. He has his hand up.
Hey, Big Mike, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Sean. What's going on, man?
Hey, nothing much. I didn't want to take up much of the time of the panel, but you and Mr. Nagone, I have both sent you guys some emails. I was just wondering, when you get a chance, let me respond with you guys offline. I don't want to take up any time on the panel.
Oh yeah, I'll check. Sorry. Thanks. I'll check it after the live stream is over.
Okay, yeah, no problem. You too, Mr. Nagone. MOT put me in touch with you, so I've been trying to get a hold of you, sir.
Yeah, definitely. My email is back. I got 100 emails I haven't even gone through yet. So.
I believe you. You're a busy man. That's why I said I know you guys are both busy.
What were you saying, Nagone? Your mic is breaking up a lot.
We'll do it, but we'll hit you up after. I don't know. Is my connection bad?
Yeah, it is bad.
This is at my house.
Just restart.
All right,
restart.
Let me move around a little bit. I'll hit you up in a second.
Yeah, restart your phone.
Yeah, I'm just gonna move around. I gotta get close to the motor.
Yep.
But thanks, Big Mike. That's all I wanted. I don't want to interrupt the panel, but this is the stuff we can do offline. But yeah, I just wanted to hit you up. It was about the IT mentoring. So yeah, I sent you an email again, and I know you're busy, so I don't take it personal.
Yeah, no problem, man. Where are you at now in terms of your IT journey?
Oh, we're getting into the basics of it right now. I'm still in another industry, so I'm trying to make that transition.
Okay.
I have previous emails from you, but I'll get into it later on with you. I don't want to do it on panel time. Thank you, though.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Let me go to Faber. Faber says, do you think this issue will prompt the government to step in and provide funded training in these areas? That's the responsibility of foundational Black Americans or ADARs, American Descendants of Slaves. That's their responsibility. Instead of sitting on live streams arguing with each other about a hashtag, they should be pushing this initiative, but they're not. That's their responsibility. It's not the government's responsibility. Government has no idea about the numbers on the ground and things that they're not looking at that. The recruitment agencies like Robert Half, the big staffing firms, they're saying they got Rex open. Nagone just said he has Rex open. And ADP, they're looking at the payrolls and they're saying, well, most of these people that we're cashing these checks for, or we're writing out these checks for, are foreign born. That's not really so much the government's fault. That's really the responsibility of FBAs and ADOSs. That was their job. That's supposed to be their tiki torch, so to speak. So no, I don't think the government will step in and do that. Although I've talked about this before, that your public library should be providing this sort of literacy to in these predominantly Black areas that are impacted through poverty. So it should be a social justice program to actually make sure every recently born and unborn have access to this sort of skill set through their public library infrastructure, which is what your tax dollars pay for, which would remove the need for 85,000 H-1Bs. So that's my perspective. Let me get to Nate. Nate says, how do you get into ETL SQL with no experience? That's easy. You take on a junior role after you complete some coding camp. See, in ETL and SQL, you have to demonstrate your ability to perform. You can't just say, well, let me get a certification and call it a day. That's not how it works. You got to be able to demonstrate that. We also got Mike Coleman in the chat, man. Shout out to Mike. All right, let me get to the next article. All right, this one is from realpython.com. PyCon Africa 2019 recap. I'm not going to read this whole thing. I'm only going to go over what happened at PyCon Africa. PyCon Africa was a wonderful, inspiring, and technically enlightening conference that took place in Accra, Ghana, from August 6th to August 10th, 2019, at the University of Ghana. This conference was the very first Pan-African conference for Python developers and was attended by 323 Pythonistas from 26 different countries. Most of the attendees traveled from countries around Africa, and a number of speakers came from the US, the Netherlands, Germany, Brazil, and Italy. Python is becoming more and more adopted all across the globe. In Africa, Python is earning a special place for itself, where it's used extensively for web development and data science. African businesses are looking for developers with Python skills in these areas, and having a PyCon in Africa provides a foundation to help support African programmers. On the day before the main conference started, attendees took some time to settle in. Those who were just getting started with Python attended a beginner day session led by Joey Darko to help them set up their computers for Python development. I joined another group of international travelers on a tour of Accra, Ghana. We visited many tourist sites such as the Independence Square, the Cultural Center, and some of the local markets to get a feel for the Ghanaian way of life. The following day was dedicated to workshops, with two running concurrently in both the morning and the afternoon sessions. The Django Girls workshop introduced women and Django beginners to Django development. Other workshops were focused on concepts like data visualization, testing, and iterators. So this is the group. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but this is dope. When you guys get a chance, man, y'all should click on the link and actually read this for yourself. This is actually some dope stuff that they're talking about here. They call Python and blockchain tools of Pan-Africanism. That's what they call it. So those are the conversations that they're having. So we talked about coding before, and people have asked, you know, what coding languages should you learn? There you go, Python. Africans are looking at Python as a Pan-Africanist tool. That's what the article said. And they said that essentially, you know, the other article that I read back in the summertime to you guys, actually the conversation that I had with another person about cloud computing, Africans are hungry for cloud computing. And the other article we read at a tech conference in Africa said that blockchain is a Pan-Africanist tool. These are the conversations that they're having. This is the sort of perspective that they have on technology. So people can say, you know, the government should help you do this and government should help you do that. Some of these people don't even have running water, nor do they have electricity, and yet they're doing all this stuff. And we have people right here in the manosphere telling you, you don't need to learn that. You need to open up a barbershop in a hair salon. That's more realistic. That's what they're telling you. All right, this one is from face-to-faceafrica.com. Meet the smartest Black family in Britain who are originally from Nigeria with several world records. Dr. Chris Imafidin and Anne Imafidin have raised their children to become the smartest Black kids ever in Britain. Professor Imafidin is an international scholar and education consultant who immigrated from Edo State, Nigeria, to London over 35 years ago. If you really want a child to learn anything, find out the best way that a child learns. Every human being has a unique way of learning, he said. His children must have taken after his intelligence. Their smartness and intelligence is overwhelming and record breaking, especially for people of color. The Imafidens raised their children with a guided discipline according to the BBC. Their twin, Paula and Peter Imafiden, at age 8, set a joint world record when they passed an AAS level examination in mathematics. A year later, they took and passed the University of Cambridge Advanced Mathematics paper, thereby becoming the youngest students ever to pass the examination. At age 9, they made history as the youngest children in British history to attend high school. Now 14 and the youngest of the Imafiden kids, the duo are not only academically sound, they are reportedly musicians and they are good at different sports. Peter is also a 100-meter and 400-meter relay champ in London who hopes to serve as a prime minister, and his sister Paula is a country champion in rugby who likes to teach math. Both siblings are musicians. However, they have an older genius sibling by name, Anne Marie Imafidin, who obtained her master's degree from Oxford University at age 17. She was the youngest person to pass the A-level computing exam. She was called a serial world record breaker in the September 2011 edition of Higher Education Digest. Anne Marie is currently co-founder and CEO of STEMmates, an organization which has helped 40,000 girls realize their STEM potential, which she started in 2013. Christina Imafidin was honored by the Minister of State for E-commerce as one of the youngest girls ever to receive a mathematics award at the age of 9. She went on to write a book to help her friends struggling with maths called Maths Manual. Christina followed her sister's footsteps. At 11, she made history as the youngest student to attend a British university. She earned a government scholarship to study at undergraduate level, and subsequently she received 8 scholarships to the top schools in the country. Christina is an international speaker. She has also been named the most influential woman in financial technology. Amazingly, there's also Samantha Imafidin, the sibling who mentored the twins to pass their own math secondary test. She has passed 2 high school level mathematics and statistics exams at age 6. She became the youngest girl in the UK to attend secondary school at age 9. She is a gold level champion in the 100-meter and 200-meter relays. On her accomplishment, Samantha says, with the right environment, anyone could have done what I did. The right environment. Interesting. Sean has his hand up.
Oh, hey, Big Mike, to the article that you were talking about before, just the explosion of them wanting to do coding and different things in IT on the continent of Africa. I don't know if many people realize. I think I believe it was when Martin Luther King went over there to Ghana, him dealing with the government over there. They actually made it to where African Americans in America can get they can get citizenship over there pretty easily. So I didn't, just add that in.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about that, so I didn't mention it. But thanks for mentioning it.
Yeah, no problem.
I don't know if DE Raptor has anything he wants to speak to that. I mean, he's been to Britain before, I think.
Well, yeah, I lived over there for a few years. But the funny thing is about over there is that you see that with Africans, Indians, Pakistani, Chinese, everybody comes to England and they compete. People from the Caribbean, when you go there, they're children. They come there to compete. They don't come there to go about it like you see here in America. You see all of those young ladies,
Mm-hmm.
they are focused not only on the academics, but they're good in sports.
Mm-hmm.
The average woman,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in America, whereas you have a 90%, 80% of the Caribbean or African who goes to Britain or even Europe in general. Every opportunity they're given, they take it. Whereas here in America, they don't want to put themselves in a position where they get the opportunity. They don't even want to put themselves in a position where they get the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I've heard people here say, hey, I don't have to do that because the government owe me. I don't have to do that because I'm a minority.
Mm-hmm.
Crap. You will hear you hear people saying in England that they're minorities, but they're fighting to get what they can. I mean, they're going to fight
Mm-hmm.
to get what they can.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it my own eyes. So what you're reading here is like average. You know what I'm saying? Well, when I say average, is that they're gonna struggle. These girls are at the top of their game, but there are other people who are not getting to where they're at 8 or 9 as they do, but 12 and 13, 14, 15, they're still doing damn good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and especially if they just come from Nigeria or Ghana or someplace, they might be 18, 20 years old. But when they get into school, and I mean, it's like, wow, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And they jump right in.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here, you know, it's like we don't have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And like the article you read before, that all of these positions are open. And I keep asking myself, are these positions open because they're not enough qualified black men to fill them, or are black men getting sidelined deliberately out of these positions?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's my question for that article that you read before. But I am looking at these girls here and I'm saying, wow, what happened to the women in America?
Well, they got feminism. They took on feminism. And they gave up their ability to think for themselves. That is just my opinion on this. Let me get to this next article. This one is from CompTIA.org. We were supposed to cover this on Saturday, but I put it off until today. How to get a CompTIA certification, go at your own pace, focus, and lab every day. This one is by Dewan Lightfoot. For those of you who don't know, this person right here is subscribed to us, and he also has a wrench. He's a moderator here. Let's take a trip back in time. The year is 2000, and I just, let me expand this out, logged on to manage my first Windows NT 4.0 server. Things like plug and play in Active Directory are nowhere to be found. If you wanted a USB driver, you need to install the drivers. This seems so long ago. Fast forward to today, 2019, and I'm learning Linux. You may ask why when I'm a network engineer. Well, the answer is simple. Linux plays a major role in every IT infrastructure, from the back end to front end devices to a cloud, and even in networking tools that I use. Linux is all around us. So over the past 2 months, I have partnered with CompTIA to earn the CompTIA Linux Plus certification. With so many changes in the industry, you need to embrace a mindset of continuous learning and adapting. This is why it was so important to me to partner with CompTIA and learn Linux and earn Linux Plus. It allowed me to not only improve my skills, but also encourage others to adapt. In this post, I'll help you learn how to get a CompTIA certification and answer questions that you may have. The first thing you need to do is learn about the exam on the CompTIA Linux Plus webpage. There you will find all the exam details like these. To answer this question, you'll need to fill out the form on the left side of the page with your info, then you'll be able to download the exam objective for free. This is extremely important because those exam objectives are everything you need to know to prepare for the exam. My recommendation is to add these objectives to your note-taking or study tool. I use Microsoft OneNote, and be sure that you understand every section. All right. Number one, official CompTIA study guide. So the first resource I used was the official CompTIA Linux Plus study guide ebook. This was nice. This was a nice, easy read. It's available as both an ebook and a hardcover, and I was given the ebook. The second resource was CompTIA Cert Master Learn for Linux Plus. This was a tremendous help and allowed me to create a learning plan that tracked my progress. CompTIA Cert Master Learn breaks down the materials into 15 sections, covering everything that is on the exam objectives. Let me just kind of scroll down. CompTIA Cert Master Labs. The next resource was CompTIA Cert Master Labs, an online virtual environment that has networked with CentOS, Ubuntu, and Windows Server, and more than 60 labs to help you learn Linux. So let me drop this in the chat for you guys. This was really cool because if you have a system that does not have enough resources to run 3 virtuals, you can use this tool to lab. And I do recommend that you lab Linux for this exam so you can apply the new skills you are learning in practice for the performance-based questions on the exam. CompTIA Cert Master Practice. The last resource I used was CompTIA Cert Master Practice. Let me just say, I thought I was ready for exam until I started taking these practice exams. The questions were tough, and the way the platform is set up, you can't complete a section until you follow all the questions. I found this tool to be extremely helpful for exams preparation and reiterating what I have learned. My suggestion is to go through each section and make note cards of the questions you miss. I honestly created more than 300 note cards for the exam. I have more than 12 IT certifications, and this may have been the most difficult to manage time-wise. The exam is not hard, yes. The information is vast and can be difficult to grasp, but the exam itself is not written to trick you. The questions are very straightforward. So after failing the first time, I have some tips to help you be successful. Prepare at your own pace. This exam has a ton of information that you have to cover. I took 2 months to pass, and I really had no Linux experience. Yes, some of my knowledge did apply to this exam. So go through the exam objectives and focus on the info that you don't have knowledge of. Focus and apply, right? With so much information and learning resources, it's easy to fall into information overload. Focus on the exam objectives and apply what you learn. Lab every day. Do not prepare for this exam without Linux lab experience. Whether you use CompTIA Cert Master Labs or install CentOS, be sure to apply what you are learning. Linux forces you to understand how to use the command line. Don't ignore this. Manage your time. You have 90 minutes to answer all the questions. That seems like a ton of time, but unless you really know Linux, it's not. My advice is to go through the exam once, answering the questions that you know and flagging the ones that you don't. On my first attempt, I had 5 minutes left and 20 questions remaining. And on my second attempt, when I finished, I had 2 minutes to spare. So I agree with his manage your time and prepare at your own pace. All of his advice, man, I'm 100% on board with. So I wanted to give this brother a mention because he's a moderator for the Black Brain Trust. He's been very supportive of the channel. And you know, he's another brother doing his thing, man, in IT. And he has great insight on certifications in IT overall. Christian Maddox, Maddox 12 in the chat, who's another moderator here, actually is friends with him and introduced him to the Black Brain Trust, and that's how he became a member, a subscriber of the Black Brain Trust. So this is not the first article that we've covered where someone was in the local news or national news or some news syndication that has mentioned them, and they've been the subscriber of us, the Black Brain Trust. Yeah, so salute to them. And I'll drop this in the chat as well. Let me see. Oh, Rick Boss. Rick Boss asked a question, Mike, what influenced you to get into IT when you get a moment? So I was always a tech person, so it was not a big deal for me to transition into the industry, but I've always had computers practically my whole life. So I've never bought a computer before. I've always built my computers. And that's how I really got into the tech portion. However, I did have some influencers who already were working for Oracle and Cisco at the time and Lucent Technologies, and just being around them made me want to aspire to be in that industry even more. So that's how I got into it. And speaking of Linux, to goes keep it techie. Josh is our resident SME on everything open source and Linux. So I'm surprised that Josh doesn't have his Linux Plus. If he does, I could be wrong. Frozen says, evening brothers, how can I get in contact with Nagone? I would love to hear his input on my software developing journey. Nagone is here. I think he'll be in the, he should be in the chat. All right, let me get to this next article from dice.com. Fastest growing jobs for new tech workers include database admin. Technology is a constantly expanding industry, and a new study shows which fields have grown the most over the past 5 years for technologists under the age of 35. Software developer is up there, along with database administrator and some others. Analyzing the past 4 years of the Bureau of Labor Statistics data, Smart Asset found database administrator was the fastest growing job in tech, with a 62% increase in young professionals employed in the field. Smart Asset chose to isolate jobs that require a bachelor's degree or better and filtered out any job with less than 15,000 people employed in those roles. A young professional is anyone between the ages of 25 and 34. From there, the company compared BLS data from 2014 and 2018 to find how much growth had occurred in 4 years. Interestingly, the database administrator role is experiencing churn that seems to expel older technologists. Smart Asset notes the total number of database administrators stayed the same for over this 4-year span, 108,000. But saw a giant spike in how many younger pros were employed in this role. Of the nearly 1.7 software developers in the United States, nearly 600,000 are under 35. Smart Asset says, in part, the large number of young professional software developers is a result of the size of the occupation itself. It is the largest occupation of any in our top 10 by far. As it also points out that this discipline is expected to grow 24% by 2026, which the BLS says is faster than average. Computer systems analyst is also popular for young tech pros with a 58% increase in the last 5 years. In that time, the under 35 crowd has taken 71,000 more of these jobs. This field isn't as popular as the software developer role and won't grow as fast. This career path is expected to grow 10% by 2026. Those 3 jobs aren't outliers either. BLS data shows tech remains impervious to the slowing job market. The professional and technical services designation gained 14,800 jobs last month alone. I talked about this before that a lot of companies are switching out from Windows 7 to Windows 10. I know a company that has 100,000 computers they need to upgrade, but only less than 5,000 have been upgraded to Windows 10. So they still have at least 90,000 systems that need to be migrated to Windows 10. They can't find enough skilled people to actually migrate systems from Windows 7 to Windows 10 and make sure that the applications all work. So these are areas that you can get into. We got Keep It Techie on the panel. What's going on, bro?
What's going on, bro? How you doing, man?
Chilling, man. You have anything you want to add to the last 2 articles that we covered?
I missed the one before last, but this last one. Okay, over the last year, what was that? Last year, I was on a contract where the military upgraded from Windows 7 to Windows 10. So it was a real big project. I was on that for like 7 months, and we did a whole base out here in California where we were switching from Windows 7 to Windows 10. So there are a lot of jobs out there, and the support is going away from Windows 7 as well.
Yep, 2020.
Yep. So that's just something you guys can look into. So
Now, I don't know, Josh, if you're looking at the screen. Do you know this brother here?
yeah, that's
Dewan
I forget
Lightfoot.
his name. Yeah, Lightfoot. Yep, exactly. I follow his channel. I've been following him for a while.
Yeah, he's also a
as well.
moderator on the Black Brain Trust.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and I seen he was going through and he got that Linux Plus, which is something I should have been did, but
Oh, you ain't do it?
not. Now let me explain it. The reason
what had happened was
no. See, I've never worked with Linux on a professional in a professional setting. I've never had a position working as a Linux administrator. I got into Linux though back in 2008 when I first moved to Las Vegas. Somebody introduced me to it and kind of fell in love with it. And I use it on my personal systems. And I've always used it on my personal systems to test out new tech because you can set up those virtual machines to set up Windows servers on and all that stuff. And I don't know, it just became a very interesting hobby that I did on the side. So that's why I got into Linux, and I've never had a position. I've always done Microsoft because Microsoft is the the industry standard. But anyway, that's why I talk about Linux. it's not something that I do, professionally. It's something that I just do on the side as a hobby, along with working on cars.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
But yeah, man, that's not the first article we've read of some black male who's a subscriber to us being featured in some newsletter or some article
oh yeah.
about their advancements in IT. So, a lot of people think that we are, we're making this stuff up as pie in the sky type of stuff, but it's actually real. People out there doing big things within the Black Brain Trust and outside of it. So you guys got to pay attention to what's going on around you. We don't read these articles for nothing. There's a lot of bread out here you can get. Cats be up here BSing, man. Be fronting. All right, let me get to this next article from CGTN. Big data is fueling the fight. Against cancer. What is cancer? Why are more and more people getting cancer nowadays? Are we doomed to die once we are diagnosed with cancer? My father was diagnosed with cancer when I was in college in the US. Winnie Q, a startup founder based in Shanghai, told CGTN. Winnie has witnessed 3 family members and friends suffer from cancer and die from it. I was hoping that a database in China were available to better learn about my father's condition. So I decided to come back to do something for lung cancer patients and other cancer patients, Q said. The wish of Winnie represents cancer patients and also their families. The word cancer is an umbrella term that includes hundreds of different malignant tumors arising from the epithelial tissue in the human body. Statistics show that about 18.1 million new cancer cases and 9.6 million cancer-related deaths were reported globally in 2018. Each day, some 50,000 people are diagnosed with cancer and 26,000 patients die from the disease. Currently, cancer accounts for nearly 1/6 of deaths around the world, and it will become the global #1 killer by the end of the century. Due to the low cure rate of cancer, cancer patients all over the world are expecting new treatments, and communities around the world are resorting to a new strategy, big data. Because the amounts of information are so large, we need special computing techniques to put together this information to create a sort of artificial intelligence that then tells us what to do about a particular patient of cancer. To put it simply, big data for cancer research is based on artificial intelligence, and it incorporates an enormous amount of a patient's information. It gathers the patient's data, analyzes it with algorithms, and provides clinical suggestions for doctors. The database is open to the public, so doctors and researchers around the world can all get access to it, said Dr. Wu, professor at Shanghai Pulmonary Hospital, affiliated with Tongji University. With the help of big data, doctors who traditionally rely on their own judgment can make better informed decisions, and patients can receive more personalized treatment. According to statistics from abroad, the 5-year survival rate for lung cancer patients receiving immunotherapy is 16%, said Dr. Wu. As we have just started immunotherapy in China for 2 years, the survival rate is not yet available, but I believe it will be much higher than before. The United States began collecting data on cancer cases in 1973, and their data collection gradually became automatic. According to the Global Action Plan for the Prevention and Control of Non-Communicable Diseases 2013-2020, The World Health Organization aims for a 25% reduction in mortality from cancer by 2025, and the establishment of a worldwide collaborative network for cancer control. Many of my peers attend international medical conferences to communicate with foreign counterparts. The achievements we've made are well received. Dr. Zhu Gang, professor of urology at Peking University, told CGTN. On May 24, 2018, the Chinese Health Information and Big Data Association launched a national key research and development program with the aim of establishing a national big data center for cancer research. It would build up a platform for cancer research to boost international exchange and collaboration. China is a very exciting place for this medical informatics use of big data to take place. Dr. Epstein, not to be confused with the one who was found in a New York prison. Yeah, so we talked about healthcare informatics before, and how this is going to play a significant role, especially for people who do have a clinical background. Having big data, data science, artificial intelligence, machine learning, Python development under their skill set is going to be very beneficial, as the Chinese are starting to see for themselves that they're collecting all this data and they need to process it and then drive it with machine learning, artificial intelligence, and other deep learning tools. All right, let me move on to the next article. All right, this one is from CNBC.com. There's a race to replace our iPhones with smart glasses we wear everywhere. Most of the biggest names in big tech are racing to create smart glasses that we wear every day, everywhere, and that may replace our phones. Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Snap, Facebook, Apple, Magic Leap, and others are all working on some form of smart glasses or headset that will change how we view the world around us. Instead of pulling a phone out of our pockets to talk to people or interact with apps, we may we may do these things simply by speaking to and looking through a set of glasses. There's a race to be the first to make a set of glasses that everyone will wear, which means they have to be fashionable and sleek enough to wear all day and everywhere you go. Advocates of the technology hope that you'll one day be able to replace your screen or replace every screen in your life with just one pair of smart glasses. If glasses replace common gadgets like our phones or computer screens, it will mean big business to the companies that come out on top. But we're likely years away from that. Today, most AR headsets are too big, too expensive, and simply too weird looking to make sense for everyday use. That's not keeping tech companies from trying, though. Here's where everyone stands right now. Microsoft. Microsoft is working on advanced augmented reality products. Its HoloLens 2 headset went on sale last week, and a modified version is being tested by the Army to make soldiers more effective on the battlefield. Called IVOS, the Army's version can overlay images like the positions of fellow soldiers and the enemy over the vision of the soldiers who wear the HoloLens headsets. And soldiers can use it for training to see how they perform during battle simulations. It has commercial uses too. HoloLens is capable of displaying computer programs over your vision, so you don't always have to sit at a computer to do work. It can help workers in the field identify problems and make fixes without digging through manuals. The HoloLens 2 is too big and at $3,500 too expensive for most consumers. But as technology progresses, these devices will only get smaller and more powerful. Snap's Spectacles 3 glasses, which go on sale this week for $380, let users snap pictures and videos of the world around them and then add augmented reality effects to those clips inside the Snapchat app. You can't currently see any information through the glasses themselves, but the company is reportedly working toward adding augmented reality into the frames. The information reported on Monday said Snap is building a fourth generation version of its spectacles camera glasses, codenamed Hermosa, with smart lenses capable of showing augmented reality effects. Google still sells its Google Glass product, which shows information, but not 3D augmented reality to wearers. The original version aimed at consumers may have to come soon. People didn't like that wearers of Google Glass were able to record them at any time, and Google eventually killed that model and focused on business use. Google is still investing in the space, and most recently launched a new version in May for commercial use. Google's Android platform on phones now support augmented reality apps too, which means it's building a library of applications that could one day be used more advanced version of Google Glass. Google Maps on Android and iPhone already has features that would be much better, much more useful on a set of glasses too. An augmented reality feature that rolled out in May overlays information, including walking directions on top of the real world. It can show you which way to walk, when to take a turn, and even when you arrive at your destination when you hold up your phone. Magic Leap's first headset launched in August 2018, and like Microsoft HoloLens 2, is a relatively bulky headset that's capable of showing games, 3D animation, virtual video screens, and more, all in the digital world around you. You can still see everywhere you walk and everyone you're talking to, but AR applications let you switch or let you watch TV, work in computer programs, and more, all while still seeing in the normal world. But like Holy is expensive with a starting price of $22.95. The company will need to make its products smaller and more affordable if it plans to attract a wide audience. And it will need to add more capabilities and applications. Apple's iOS and Android already offer thousands of augmented reality apps for phones, which could easily land on handsets if and when they launch. Apple's headset is reportedly set to launch in 2022, but the first model is the size of Facebook's Oculus Quest virtual reality headset, according to the information. But a smaller glasses size version that it says is due to launch in 2023 may be more attractive to people, since that form factor will allow it to be worn all day instead of around the house. Like Google, Apple's iOS platform is already home to thousands of augmented reality apps. Apple probably added AR support to its iPhones and iPads in an effort to teach people more about the technology and show them how games and information will work once they are overlaid in front of our faces. And like Google's, this strategy helps it build a library of apps that would work on a future set of glasses. Siri already works with wearable products like the AirPods and Apple Watch, allowing users to ask it for more turn-by-turn directions, to play music, and to transcribe messages, all without picking up a phone. Those functions could all work on a set of smart glasses. I'm not going to read all of this because this is not really necessary, but this is the future of tech. I've talked about this many times before, that in order for Apple to really stand out, they would need a wearable product instead of a phone. Their phone sales have slowed down dramatically because everybody already has an iPhone who already has one, who wanted one. And two, people aren't upgrading their phones just to get one new feature. It has to be an exclusive product. And a wearable glass set, similar to how you would wear some Ray-Bans, would be the only way that people would upgrade completely off of their old phones, because that's really the challenge. How do you get people off of their own phones to something new? We got Mike Coleman on the panel. What's going on, fam?
Hey, what's going on, man? Can y'all hear me? Am I coming in clear?
Chilling, man. We can hear you fine.
Hey, I wanted to hop on real quick about this article. I believe this right here, there'll be your new, probably should roll that out with police officers. And I also think they might start rolling this stuff out in healthcare, right? As long as they can keep the data secure, now you can eliminate note taking for nurses, right? All this note taking for doctors. Pretty much all they have to do is just like the Star Trek, push that little button, talk, your speech will go to text. Patient, Dr. Patient Smith, Dr. Phoenix, patient exudes discharge from right leg, bacterial infection, and then calling it a prescription and then close it out. And then he'll have a picture of a live video image of the infected area or whatever's going on, and that'll be his notes. Picture's worth 1,000 words. A video has to be worth 1 billion words. You know what I mean? So I think the Cleveland Clinic was talking about using something like this, I think about 2-3 years ago. So they're trying to get high tech with it, man. So
Yeah, I think what's happening, and it's interesting you mentioned police officers, because Motorola actually put a patent in a few years ago for this very thing. So that allows police officers to identify criminals from a cloud database.
yeah. And they wear sunglasses all the time anyway. So what's the difference? You know what I mean? And then they don't never have to worry about turning it off. It's automatically on, or just make it saying we're like, coming on scene, turn on. So it's gonna be interesting, man. The future's gonna be it's gonna be interesting.
Future is here, bro.
No, agreed. I'm just saying in terms of how this technology will be applied. It's gonna be interesting. You know what I mean? So how you see these things from different industries start converging in different industries. You know what I mean? So stuff from healthcare all the way to the police department, from the police department back over to maybe warehousing or something like that. You know what I mean? So they want to know what you are doing as a worker. People want to know what you're doing with your time on your job. Put these safety glasses on, and we'll watch and monitor what you're doing on there. So
yeah, it needs an application first, right? So the application is what drives the hardware. We talked about this many times before, that hardware does not work on its own. It needs an application to drive it.
No, agreed. So that's what I'm saying. You this whole push for tech is like I was speaking with RL in the chat, man. Ain't gonna be no crying for people, man. Like there's too many openings out here, too many, one year you could be picking up these jobs. You've got access to guys like Ngone who will direct you where you need to go in a year, 2 years time. 3 years you'd be a decent programmer, software engineer. 2 years of education in the same along that process of year of just entry level for your first year. Once you get that certifications, and man, you're good to go. What's 3 years? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, what were you doing 3 years ago? That's what I tell most people. What were you doing 3 years ago? And you look back and go, well, shit, I ain't really been doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
But I just want to hop on real quick about those glasses, man, because I think that they're going to start using that in a lot of different industries, and it's going to be pushing real hard. So
yeah, I think that's going to be a huge market. Even from a learning, distance learning perspective, the ability to put that headset on and actually join someone's classroom. I wouldn't be surprised if the NFL comes up with their own sort of
Yeah, man.
um
People want to be there. You know what I mean? I actually saw there's a young black dude. He did was it TechCrunch? I want to say TechCrunch 2 years ago, where he did some kind of virtual email like this, where you can log in and put these headsets on, basically to help you work from home, and then go in and read your emails that way. I mean, it was pretty dope. Like it put up like this environmental setting of like your office, and then you just sit down and go into your email and just start reading your email out loud, and it just follow you around the house. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they can put a camera on the headset of a quarterback and feed that information to a VR headset, NFL can sell millions of video packages for something like that. In the
Yeah, I mean,
NBA that would be difficult, but in the NFL you can slap that small camera onto the front of a quarterback's helmet and they can see right downfield. They can look left, they can look right, they can see if they're going to get sacked. You know, that would be
but
an
not even
immense experience.
but not even that. You're paying for different packages, right? So you're paying for the Tom Brady package, or you're paying for the Odell Beckham Jr. package, right? You know what I'm saying? Like to
Right.
watch him fly down the field, do a move, and then freaking catch that football. Like that's that's
The
gonna be
profitability behind that is crazy.
profitability be endless, man.
Crazy. Crazy. Same thing for NASCAR. If NASCAR wants to survive, they would have to move to this sort of technology platform.
Well, they are actually already trying to do that with the podcast. You can kind of like log in with their go to your team driver, and you can start listening to them communicate over the radio. So what's the difference between just adding a camera and watching that? You know what I mean? So
Well, the
those teams,
ability to watch him from his first person perspective, right,
exactly.
is really profitable. Probably scary as crap when they crash, but it's just one of those things, man. There's a lot of opportunity that's going to come out of that. You know, software developers, coding is where this is going. You know, you're going to need that skill set to come in.
Well, yeah, well, that's something that I keep telling like brothers in terms of like even just getting into tech, right? Like you coming into this space, having an idea, right? At the end of the day, you're not going to be one engineer to build your whole application, but you'll have an overview of where to start in terms of, all right, dude, I need an engineer to do this, 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 and this, right? Like so the application that we're building, what helped me get my SQL certification part was a two-part. Was we're in the process of building a database, cloud-based service with Azure and Azure, and then and then you, Mike, which was we had a meeting up about 2 months ago when you were asking me about my background. Then you were just like, why aren't you learning a code, programming language, right? And I was just kind of like, and I thought after we got offline, I thought about it. I was like, well, fuck, if I'm going to be building this application that's going to be using a cloud-based database system that's going to be collecting data, you need to know how to operate and use that better instead of just relying on my programmers to just hand me off this data, right? So that's what I tell the guys, like, man, even for myself, my goal is by the time I'm 40, I'm 37. So by the time I turn 40, I'll be a full-fledged software engineer, right? So that's just setting a pathway for myself, taking these roadmaps just to get into it as much as possible. And these brothers can do the exact same thing. What's 3 years from now? You'll be living well. You have a great income. You'll probably have a better income, right? Because you'll be actually leading more teams as a manager. As the economy goes down and more people will be flooding this industry, right? At the end of the day, a hungry stomach will motivate anybody. But you can start, like the article said earlier, you could be negotiate a senior position. You know what I'm saying? Like, talk to Nagon. Like, how do I negotiate a senior position for myself? I've been doing this for 2 years. Tell them, this, boom, you're done. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
I hope brothers paying attention, man. So I hope they are.
Yeah, I would hope so too, man. I would hope so too. It's so many opportunities that's the articles are talking about that a lot of cats ain't really up on, man. I always get these guys that want to come by and show me the new Samsung Galaxy Note, and I'm like, yeah, you spent a lot of money on that, but can you even write an app for it?
No, agreed. Or even, do you even have access to know the people who are doing that, who will actually write an app for you? You get what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
say, like for me, I'm in the role that I'm in right now for the product that we're building is a product developer, right? I don't know how to program, but I know how to
Mhm.
talk with the engineers and negotiate contracts. You
Mhm.
follow me? But at the same time, I can get to that point where fuck it, let me start learning some of this stuff too, so I can know exactly what when I sit down with Mike V, it'd be like, yo man, how long it gonna take me to build this? And Mike V gonna be like, I don't know. Like I don't know exactly what you're looking for. I don't know the time frame. I gotta sit down
Mhm.
and like see the scope of work before I can actually give you a price tag, right?
Mhm.
But most people can't understand that. They just think it's just a tech is just like going to the store and buying something, and it's not. It's basically sitting down, knowing the full scope of work, what you're really asking your engineer to do. How many more than engineers you're gonna need? You're gonna need a security guy. You're gonna need a software guy, and then you're gonna need a guy who actually can build the firmware if you're doing hardware. You know what I mean? Like and then you need somebody to do the cloud stuff. That's like 4 engineers all together, and one guy's not gonna know all that stuff. So the field's wide open, man. It's wide open.
Yeah, you spread your load and separate have separation of duties. And that's what we say in IT. So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I just want to hop on that for the glasses, man. I see that's going to start being used a hell of a lot more, especially with at home work. Um, that'll give your employer a little bit more ability to track you as you're at home. So
Yeah, I think there's gonna be a lot of vacation based opportunities come out of that too. A lot of people who can't afford to go to the continent, man, will be able to see what everybody else is doing in real time.
no, agreed. And that's something that I was talking to a buddy of mine about. That whole expat,
Yep.
that's going to be big. Like here, I believe in the next 2 3 years, this is going to be big. Where you
Digital
can basically,
expats.
yeah, digital expats, man. Where guys now are talking about digital. They're talking about being digital nomads, but there's not really that they're in marketing, right? So now you can
Mhm.
move out of marketing into a real software base or SaaS base or database role. Your ass could be sitting in freaking South America or in Thailand somewhere, just programming. You know what I'm saying? And getting a
Mhm.
paycheck, living at a really cheap cost of living. That's what I think the future is going to be in the
Mhm.
next like 4 or 5 years. So a lot of
Mhm.
guys just gonna be able to try, and women too, just gonna be able to get up and just travel and do whatever they want to do. So be anywhere in the world, man.
Mhm. Yeah, thanks for stepping up, man. That's
Yeah, no,
definitely dope.
no problem. Yeah, I just want to let guys brothers know it's doable, and you don't have to be out here selling goat milk in these streets. You know what I'm saying? So, all right,
Yeah.
fellas, peace.
All right, man. All right, this is from Face to Face Africa. At age 17, he built Nigeria's first locally made drone on a mission to build an aircraft. David Opatalipo, 17 years old, when he built Nigeria's first locally made drone in Lagos. Otalabipos led a team of Lagos State Polytechnic students to produce the country's first prototype of a drone, with authorities in Lagos hope to deploy for security surveillance. The drone project is part of a training curriculum at the university, with the aim of developing technology that will be at par with the rest of the world, whilst empowering young people and providing job opportunities. So this is the picture of the drone that he created out of wood and some propellers. When tested, uh, Opat's drone could fly 15 minutes in the air with a maximum altitude of 2,000 feet. That's amazing. The drone is a hybrid mix of existing drone components and locally fabricated material. Aside from using drones for aerial surveillance, you can use them for aerial photography and videography, or for broadcasting, incidents control, or pipeline and power line inspection. You can use you can also use drones in agriculture to analyze farm produce. This is another picture of the prototype here. There's continuous discussion among the team members on improving the capability of the first Nigerian-made drone. Even though Opat was a student, he was one of the associate instructors chosen to participate in building the first aircraft STOL CH-7750 at Zenith Aircraft Company's facility in Missouri, US and Mexico. Interesting. The aircraft is the first of its kind in the country, built by 5 students. When completed, the plane, according to Solomon Audio, will be shipped back to Nigeria and put it into use as both a training tool and a functional airplane. Known for his inventiveness when it comes to innovation, OPOD received his Applied Aviation Science Certificate at the International College of Aeronautics. When he is not working, he spends time playing musical instruments, building robots, and trying very hard to be a good artist. He will return to Nigeria as certified drone pilots, drone instructors, and aircraft builders, and add value to aviation training programs at La Spotec ICA Aviation Center. Asked about what his greatest achievement in life would be, David said, "I have no limit. I feel my greatest accomplishment would be influencing as many lives as possible positively, contributing to a development of wherever I find myself. My greatest achievement would be in service. When it comes to what I want to achieve, the sky is the starting point. I want to be a force of progressive and revolutionary change in the world as a whole." This is how this young man is thinking right here. This is how he's thinking. 17. Who wants smoke with him? Who wants smoke with this? He's more woke than most of these guys in the manosphere right now. You got these suckerlades running around calling people pedos, 40 plus years old, and you got a 17-year-old on here building drones talking about he wants to challenge. I want to, when it comes to what I want to achieve, the sky is the starting point. I want to be a force of progressive and revolutionary change in the world as a whole. This is a young black male at 17 years old talking like this. You got 35, 40 plus year old BMs in the manosphere calling people pedos. Make that make sense.
So I was talking about just now, man. When these guys get an opportunity, they jump on it. I mean, they don't waste time at all. Don't waste any time, bro. They just go. You know what? I'm gonna do something, and whatever I do, it's got to be good. That's what he's saying.
Hey, excuse me, guys. I just want to let y'all know I'm gonna have to step down. But I'm gonna be listening in the chat.
Hey, no problem, bro. Have a good one.
All right. All right.
But see, our kids should have this. This is what our kids, I mean, that should be their focus from the time they are kids. I mean, yes, you can play games and have your other activities, but your focus is on building something. You know what I'm saying? And it's not just something that's gonna please me. As in his case, he says, look, what I'm doing is make sure that what I do touch everybody, as many people as I can.
Yeah, man. Jay Green in the chat says the youth always show promise or show more promise. That's why we have to invest in them. Well, if you let the manosphere tell you, it's the millennials that's the problem. It's the millennials and the zennials that's the problem. They'll tell you that.
See, we hold back our children, man. I'm serious. Especially here in the U.S., we hold back our children because it's like, here's the football, here's the basketball, here's the baseball, here's the cell phone, anything except education. It's not education, and if you do it good, here's the football or here's the cell phone. You're going to get this cell phone because you are doing very well.
hmm Well, that's the future. I mean, we've talked about this many times before that many Africans, the African continent, in terms of melanated people, are, in terms of human capital, human resource, they are at least a generation ahead in thought power and thinking power than many of your foundational Black Americans.
Yeah. You know how many times I've heard a father says, son, get your book, and the mother says, let the boy play. Let him have some fun.
hmm
It's
Yeah, let's get him a football, uniform so he can go play and bust his head open.
the rest of the world, like I keep repeating on here, the rest of the world is going to leave us behind, and there's nobody who's going to negotiate for us.
hmm
Serious when Africa takes off, and people wherever they are, the Caribbean, South America, wherever you are in diaspora, if you can't get into Africa, you're gonna get left behind, because wherever you are, if you're in France, when the French negotiate, they negotiated for who they call their people, Caucasian. The Chinese gonna negotiate for their people, Chinese. If you're in America, ADOS, you shit creek.
No, they're too busy having a hashtag war.
If you're in the Caribbean, I mean, even Caribbean islands now are forcing their way into little Caribbean islands. You know what I'm saying? Are saying, you know what, we want to be a part of Africa. Because that's the direction everybody's going.
Yeah, let me get to this next article. This one is from TechCrunch.com. Yandex is now testing a self-driving sidewalk cargo delivery robot. Add another one to the list of companies piloting small-wheeled autonomous robots for small package and food delivery. Yandex, Russia's search and services giant, has expanded its ambitions in the world of autonomous transportation, building on its work with self-driving cars to deploy a six-wheeled robot that adopts the popular cooler on wheels style pioneered by Starship Robotics. So Yandex, for those of you not understanding, Yandex is like is Russia's version of Google. The small autonomous robot, appropriately dubbed Rover, has a suite of sensors, including the prominent LiDAR array on top. And it moves at an average walking speed, according to the company. It includes software that can help it avoid people with its pets, and just about any other object that might block the sidewalk while it's in motion on its way to its destination. The initial pilot includes testing on the main Yandex corporate campus in Moscow across a range of weather conditions and during both the day and at night. The Moscow headquarters hosts more than 7,000 employees and spans office buildings, restaurants, and parking garages. Yandex is providing food deliveries and groceries from its own Yandex Eats and Yandex Lavka platforms, respectively, and small good transportation is another area of potential expansion, as Yandex owns and operates its own e-commerce platform, Beru. The company also says Rover could find a home within its warehouses and data centers for in-office transportation. So this would probably never work in the United States because the infrastructure doesn't allow it. The streets and the sidewalks are so beat up. I can't tell you how many uneven sidewalk walkways are out there because they refuse to fix the sidewalks and the streets because they just don't, either they don't have the money or they just don't have the desire to. And I find it interesting that these things are coming out now, but it's anything is better than nothing if you're Russia. I mean, we talked about the other day that Russians don't innovate, and here we are. Russians are starting to come to innovate. But that's a new generation of Russians. We have Johnny Blaze on the panel. What's going on, Johnny Blaze?
Hey, Mike, not too much. How you guys doing?
I'm chilling, man. I'm chilling.
Hey, I just really want to comment on the last one about the 17-year-old kid in Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, just I would love to have this guy as one of my students, man. You have no idea. A classroom full of him would be awesome. I just got finished. I'm doing interviews now for my next new start for my program. And you know what? I had a young man like this fresh out of high school. He was telling me the story how he was living in one part of the community, but his parents actually moved to another county to put him in a better school district.
Wow.
So that way he could get a better education during his high school years, and it really paid off for him. So at least there are some parents who are actually looking out for their children. He's ADOS guy. He's 20 years old. He tried community college, going into an IT program, but surprisingly, he didn't like how the program was going. So now he's going to come into radiology. All right, that's all I got right now. I'm listening. Good information.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, let me share this next video. This is a real quick one from CGTN. Drone deliveries are here. So what we see is this UPS drone dropping off medication for CVS to a person's house. CVS just sent prescription medication by UPS drone. The drone delivered meds to the front lawn of a home and a retirement center. This could be a life-changing event, especially for elderly or sick people who cannot leave their home to go to pick up a prescription from the store. UPS and CVS said the deliveries were the first of their kind. It is part of a new program approved by the U.S. Federal Aviation. UPS is the first company to win an FAA certification to operate a drone. They beat Amazon to the punch. Amazon had been pushing for this, and they beat Amazon to the punch. So this is the future of deliveries. What else I was going to say to this is that basically guys who are doing like Uber Eats now, well, guess what? There's going to be a robot probably by 2025 that's going to take your job from you.
This is big business, bro. If you can start a contracting company that can, like Amazon might give you the last mile like they do with the trucks now.
Yep.
Guess what you're going to be doing?
Yep. Amazon would love to take that off of their hands. Matter of fact, the United States Postal Service would love to take this take it off their hands and give it to you. It's more profitable for them. I mean, the robot works 24/7. It doesn't need a vacation, and it doesn't have to worry about maternity leave and things of that nature.
Yep, day and night, your mail delivered. I mean, those packages don't have to wait for delivery the next morning.
No.
It comes into the warehouse tonight, goes out tonight. You got a special place where you want it delivered on your lawn, and it puts it right there.
Yep. Let me get to this next video from New China TV. Robots assemble car body at China's Import Expo. This was the other day. I see probably about 12 robots building one car. If I was those GM, if I was a UAW, I would be very, very concerned. if you're the UAW, you got to be concerned about this.
Well, guess what happened to the factory? I made a video. Well, I made a video about the factory that they were closing,
Mhm.
and guess what? GM sold the factory
Yep.
for less than what the robots they put the factory cost to
Right.
a truck manufacturer, electric truck
Mhm.
manufacturer.
Yep.
These people are going to be selling, I guess, something similar to the F-150s or
Mhm.
electric truck.
Mhm. All right, this one is from electrek.co. The key to everyday EV fast charging is software, says Canovo CEO. The adaptive charging method offered by software maker Canovo ensures battery health for tens of millions of smartphones. Now the company wants to bring the same algorithms to EVs. Should we stop waiting for pie in the sky breakthroughs in cell chemistry or solid state EV batteries? CEO Nadim Malouf said his company is working very, very closely with German automakers and will be in cars in about 2 years. The technology is ready, but conventional automakers work on long product cycles. We have two additional companies in Asia. He added, automakers are interested in Canovo battery management strategy for quick charging because it would help reduce the cost of EVs. Most car makers commonly utilize well below 100% of the battery's capacity. That buffer ensures the life of the battery to 100,000 miles or more. However, regular quick charging, especially to a high state of charge, threatens the longevity of the battery. But with advanced software-based monitoring of the charge, the threshold of capacity could be pushed to higher limits. As a result, you get the same range from a smaller, less expensive pack. So software algorithms and data sets collected or data collected from vehicles and their charging capabilities and their life capacity of the battery is what's helping to drive some of the algorithms that are being developed by Canovo. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with all that. I'm not going to read all these articles. We only got 45 minutes left, so I'll breeze through them as quickly as possible. All right, this one is from sciencealert.com. Science still can't explain consciousness, but that might soon change. Explaining how something as complex as consciousness can emerge from a gray jelly-like lump of tissue in the head is arguably the greatest scientific challenge of our lifetime. The brain is an extraordinary complex organ consisting of almost 100 billion cells, known as neurons, each connected to 10,000 others, yielding some 10 trillion nerve connections. We have made a great deal of progress in understanding brain activity and how it contributes to human behavior, but what no one has so far managed to explain is how all of the results in feelings, emotions, and experiences. How does the passing around of electrical and chemical signals between neurons result in feeling of pain or in experience of red? There is growing suspicion that conventional scientific methods will never be able to answer these questions. Luckily, there is an alternative approach that may ultimately be able to crack the mysteries. For much of the 20th century, there was a great taboo against querying the mysterious inner world of consciousness. It was not taken to be a fitting topic for serious science. Things have changed a lot, and there is now a broad agreement that the problem of consciousness is a serious scientific issue. But many consciousness researchers underestimate the depth of the challenge, believing that we just need to continue examining the physical structures of the brain to work out how they produce consciousness. The problem of consciousness, however, is radically unlike any other scientific problem. One reason is that consciousness is unobservable. You can't look inside someone's head and see their feelings and experiences. If we were just going off what we can observe from a third person perspective, we would have no grounds for postulating consciousness at all. Of course, scientists are used to dealing with unobservables. Electrons, for example, are too small to be seen, but scientists postulate unobservable entities in order to explain what we observe, such as lightning or vapor trails in cloud chambers. But in the unique case of consciousness, the thing to be explained cannot be observed. We know that consciousness exists not through experiments, but through our immediate awareness of our feelings and experiences. So how can science ever explain it? When we are dealing with the data of observation, we can do experiments to test whether what we observe matches what the theory predicts. But when we are dealing with the unobservable data of consciousness, this methodology breaks down. The best scientists are able to do is to correlate unobservable experiences with observable processes by scanning people's brains and relying on reports regarding their private consciousness or the private conscious experiences. By this method, we can establish, for example, that the invisible feeling of hunger is correlated with visible activity in the brain's hypothalamus, but the accumulation of such correlations does not amount to a theory of consciousness. What we ultimately want to explain is to explain why conscious experiences are correlated with brain activity. Why is it that such activity in the hypothalamus comes along with a feeling of hunger? In fact, we should be surprised that our standard scientific method struggles to deal with consciousness. As I explore in my new book, Galileo's Error, Foundation for a New Science of Consciousness, modern science was explicitly designed to exclude consciousness. Before the father of modern science, Galileo, scientists believed that the physical world was filled with qualities such as colors and smells. But Galileo wanted a purely quantitative science of the physical world, and he therefore proposed that these qualities was not or were not really in the physical world, but in the conscious world, which he stipulated was outside of the domain of science. The worldview forms the backdrop of science to this day. And so long as we work within it, the best way to do is to establish correlations between the quantitative brain processes, which we can see, and the qualitative experiences that we can't, with no way of explaining why they go together. I'm not going to read this whole thing. This is really on the geeky side. You would have to, we should probably just take out a whole day just to go through this, or a whole live stream just to go through this. Dave Tayo says, Mike V, you think by 2022, over 200,000 jobs will be replaced by robots and automation? It's already happening now, dude. Already happening right now. Retail sector is closing 8,000 stores nationwide, just in 2019 alone. A lot of those jobs will be automated. We see Amazon's warehouse is almost 90% operated by robots. We covered an article last week about most of your big brand supermarkets have what they call dark stores, where basically there are no human beings in the warehouse. There's nothing but robots running around finding groceries for people and ordering them or processing the orders. Yeah, I'm not going to read that. I'll read this one really briefly. All right, this one is from CBS Baltimore. Maryland medical company claims to have cure for HIV/AIDS. A Maryland medical company has submitted an application to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration for a gene therapy it says will eliminate HIV. American Gene Technologies in Rockville said, based on lab tests, the single dose gene therapy has a high potential to be effective. The company said the therapy AGT 103-T is a genetically modified product made from a person's own cells that focus on repairing damage to immune system caused by HIV. Our aim is to treat HIV disease with an innovative cell and gene therapy that reconstitutes immunity to HIV and will control virus growth in the absence of retroviral drugs. The company's chief science officer, C. David Pazua said. The company expects to start a phase 1 clinical trial in humans in January. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services says 1.1 million people in the U.S. have HIV. So that is that. Let me see. All right, this one is from space.com. Boeing just sent NASA its moonlander idea for Artemis astronauts. Here it is. An artist concept of a Boeing moonlander for astronauts for NASA's Artemis program to return to humans to the moon by 2024. Not going to happen. Boeing is already building a new spaceship and giant rocket for NASA. Now the aerospace company wants to go to the moon. On Tuesday, Boeing delivered a proposal to NASA for a crewed lunar lander to fly astronauts to the moon in 2024 as part of the agency's Artemis program. The moon lander will draw on Boeing's experience in working with NASA on the International Space Station, the Space Launch System mega rocket, and the company's own private Starliner crew capsule that aims to deliver astronauts to the moon as fast as possible, Boeing's representative said. Using the lift capability of NASA's Space Launch System, Block 1B, we have developed the fewest steps to the moon approach that minimizes mission complexity while offering the safest and most direct path to the lunar surface. Jim Chilton, Senior Vice President of the Space and Launch Division of Boeing Defense, Space and Security. NASA launched a call for commercial moonlander ideas on September 30th, giving companies until this week to submit ideas. The space agency's Artemis program seeks to land at least 2 astronauts on the moon in 2024 using a stepping stone approach that includes building a gateway station near lunar orbit and relying on its own Orion crew capsule, commercial cargo ships, and lunar landers, and tug-like transfer vehicles to move those landers to and from low lunar orbit. Boeing's moonlander won't need that space tug to move from the gateway to the moon. Interesting. Boeing's integrated lander also can carry itself from lunar orbit to the surface without an additional transfer stage or space tug, further reducing launches and simplifying the steps to a successful landing, company representatives wrote in the statement. It can dock with the Gateway Lunar Orbiter or directly with NASA's Orion to eliminate the need for an additional spacecraft, both on time to meet the 2024 mandate. Boeing's moonlander concept does rely on NASA's SLS, the current mega rocket of choice for the agency's Orion spacecraft. An initial version of the rocket called Block 1 will be used to launch Orion spacecraft, but NASA will need a higher powered variant called Block 1B, which features a hefty exploration upper stage to fulfill its moon landing plans. The Block 1B rocket will be the main ride for Boeing's moon lander. Currently, Boeing is building the first Block 1 rocket, which will use a less powerful interior upper stage for an uncrewed Artemis 1 test flight around the moon with Orion. So they've built this under the same premise that a person with an SUV would want a camper on top of their SUV. It's kind of like a pop-up tent, except it's this vehicle or this lander is massive in size. It's got to be at least 20 feet. If the average human is around 5, 10, 6 feet, if we're using that and we're using this little rover right here as a 3-foot vehicle, this has got to be, that's got to be 10 right here. And this and up to the top of this has to be at least 20 feet. Very interesting. All right, let me get to one. Yeah, let me get to one last article. All right, this one is from face-to-faceafrica.com. Black Google engineer claims Silicon Valley tech giants only hire the whitest Black candidates. It's no surprise that the lack of Black people in leadership positions in major tech companies like Google, Facebook, and Apple is abysmal, but what is being done to combat this? There have been talks on diversity and inclusion with no evident change, even though it is obvious that a more diverse workforce leads to higher revenues and more creative teams. Expand this out. Recently, a coder and engineer for tech giant Google opened up about her unique experience as one of the company's very few Black employees in the midst of a whole struggle by the firm in Silicon Valley to diversify its hiring pool. The mobile app developer Bria Sullivan highlighted her efforts to help others like her get a shot in the tech industry, as well as her work at the billion-dollar company. In an appearance on the Go podcast, Sullivan said, "This is my problem. I feel like they hire the whitest Black candidate. They hire someone who's exactly like them, but Black." According to her, the Black community falls prey to it much of the time. She commended the fact that a Black person heads Google's diversity office and said that while it's great to have someone who can empathize with her, at the end of the day, they still work for Google. Sullivan said the company has a Clarence Thomas problem in that it hires Black professionals that aren't really going to move the needle or work in the interest of Black folks. Excellent, excellent, excellent point. She told host Jamarlin Martin they might find a Black person that does meet the criteria, and it's probably not going to be the type of Black person that's actually going to do the thing that we want because it's what they want. Excellent point. Sullivan, a former Microsoft intern who proudly leads a group that consists of 2 Black interns and 3 Black engineers, said it's been the support of her current team and manager that has kept her on board at Google. Sullivan also points out that just as Silicon Valley has to change, so do Black and brown families that focus on sports and entertainment for their children's future. We just talked about this. She points out that not everyone in the entrepreneurial or professional basketball player or even a successful rapper. As a black woman in tech, Sullivan is taking the lead on her own accord by teaching a course focused on helping non-technical startup founders hire technical talents. The lack of black people and other minorities in tech isn't something new in Silicon Valley. In 1999, Jesse Jackson launched a campaign for tech companies to hire more diverse workers and was called a terrorist by Scott McNealy, the co-founder of Sun Microsystems and now chairman of the digital marketing startup. In mid-August, a memo called The Weight of Silence, obtained by Motherboard, was released by a former Google employee describing the burden of being black at Google. I remember that article. We covered it on this channel. Over the last 5 years, I have heard coworkers spew hateful words about immigrants, boast unabashedly about gentrifying neighborhoods, and mockingly imitate people who speak different languages, reject candidates of color without evidence of fit, and so much more, the author wrote. In its April 2019 diversity report, Google reported the percentage of Black and Latino hires rose 0.7% to 4.8% globally and 0.5% to 6.8% in the US. According to the report, hiring rates for women in the company also saw an increase, reaching 33.2%, up 1.9% globally. With tech companies creating bigger pipelines to feed in a diverse workforce, there is hope for the future, analysts believe. We just talked about this. I mean, literally just talked about this, but we've been talking about this for a minute. That the way you fix this tech employment issue, where have all these recs coming across a recruiter's desk and all these recs that are open on most of these job portals, is that you hire more black people. But there's an unwillingness on behalf of some of these companies, like Scott McNealy, who told Jesse Jackson he's a terrorist for talking about diversity and inclusion. That's the mentality that's in a lot of these organizations. And I also agree with her on the fact that black people need to stop focusing on sports and entertainment. Go ahead.
Yep, that's one of the problems. But the other problem is that if you look at the history of integration in America, anytime the door is open, one black man sticks his foot in there, he comes in and proves that black people, whatever they put their hand to do, whatever they put their mind to do, will do it better. I mean, whether it be basketball, baseball, whatever, even ice hockey, I see brothers go in there and make a name for themselves. And when you open that door, if you always talking about, black people 20 years out of slavery started building cities all over America that self-supporting. And that's the problem that the Caucasian male is afraid of. So letting a black man in there with ideas that is going to take off, even in places like Africa, where you see Microsoft and big U.S. corporations, European corporations going in and buying out these little startups. They're not buying them out because they're going to put these guys got good. They buy them out to take the ideas off the market. A majority of the time, they're buying these places out to take the ideas off the market because it's going to become a challenge for them in Africa. And if they don't have the African market, remember the African market is like the Chinese market. Africa has got billions of people, and that billion is growing. Just like China has got 1.2 or 3 billion people, 1.4 billion people, and the African market is going to be growing. And if you got Africans who are providing the service for Africans that keep the Caucasian man out, So the same thing here in America. If you let black people into the market,
Mhm.
even if you're gonna they're gonna come in and create the market, and then you're gonna have other little black kids saying, "Hey, I can do that."
Mhm.
You know, their mother might be handing them a parent. The parent might be handing them a baseball, but they're looking at this IT and say, I can become a billionaire from doing this. I can't become a billionaire by playing basketball.
No, there's only 600 slots in the NBA for a person to actually be a part of.
So there you go. In this world, I mean, how many jobs they have for IT rather
There's
and forget the
probably
basketball and football?
there's 1 million unopened, unfilled positions in IT right now in America. 1 million.
Yep.
You have roughly 5 to 6 million black males in this country.
So
There
see,
is there is an agenda to keep black males out of these sort of roles, and it's unfortunate that like the article stated, like the woman stated, and this is the woman stating this. This isn't even a man stating this. Imagine if they asked a black man his opinion, you would get a much more colorful response, if that makes any sense. The response would be very colorful.
but see, the sisters won't give her a headache. You know what I'm saying? If a black man say it, the sisters will give him a headache.
Hmm.
The sisterhood will give him a headache. A black man said,
Hmm.
we got instead of playing so much basketball and baseball and football, we should get into IT and these other fields. The sisterhood, is gonna hey, no, 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 no.
Well, I say that women are usually chosen for these articles because their ability, it's easier to digest a response from a woman than it is from a man, right? Because for men, it it demonstrates that the idea that the racism is real, right? But with women, you can just say, well, we just have a diversity issue, right? We don't have enough women, also minority women, right? So they can kind of dance around the terms, but with men, you just have a black male issue. You
Yeah,
have a racism issue. Those are bad words. They don't like to use bad words and bad terms
yeah,
because it makes them feel guilty, right? We call that white guilt and
yeah.
white fragility. And they have a hard time, uh,
Dealing with that.
well, they have a hard time ingesting the terminology, because the terminology puts the onus on them to do something, and they don't want to do anything. They want to feel like their identity is entrenched in they are good because they are white, and they are white and they are ordained by their God, and so on and so forth. So what I'm saying here is that it's a rapunctious sort of ideology that doesn't allow them to see the world in a just perspective. It's always based on an injustice. No matter what, it's always based on injustice. They feel justified not hiring a black male because he wasn't a cultural fit. How can he be a cultural fit if he did not grow up like you? It doesn't make any sense.
Right. The other problem is the analyst saying that, hey, well, it grew by 0.7% over this period of time. So things are getting better. How are
Mhm.
things getting better? I mean, that's not, if it's going to take you 40 years to make an incremental improvement, how are things going to get better? I mean, the technology is moving so fast. If the speed of technology used to take 40 years, you don't have the cell phone yet. And these jokers are looking at it and say, well, you know what? We hired two more black men yesterday, and we hired a black woman, and so it's improving. We're getting there. That's a bunch of kahooey, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, we can't expect we gotta start building our own though. Not start, but increase the rate at which we are building for ourselves. And right now, that's one of the problems that we have is we don't have enough people in the field, and we don't have enough black people investing or reinvesting their money into the field that's supposed to benefit us. We don't have schools that going to put out the number of people that is needed to grow. If we got 13% of the population, we should have at least between 10 and 13% of the wealth, and we don't.
Right.
So we not kind of devoted ourselves to building that wealth, and we're not reinvesting it. You know, well, we are reinvesting it, but in the wrong in the wrong things.
Well, you have some you have a Caribbean sister in the chat who says she disagrees.
She disagrees.
Um,
Oh, okay. I play sports. That's the one you're talking about.
yeah, she has more up top though.
I was surprised not much of my teammates was barely making 2.0. Well, that's the difference between an African Caribbean parent. I say 80%. We got a problem there. 80% of Caribbean parents will say, you know what, that's not acceptable. African parents, same thing. You know, Indian parents, the same. Indian parents, it's like, C, you gotta be kidding me. B, what's wrong with you? You sick or something? Come here, let me see. Let me take you to the doctor. Whereas here, you know, you got people say, well, 2.0, he's passing, you know. So that's okay. As long as he can run the football and he's got a 2.0, I'm good.
Well, you need a 3.0 to pass.
So,
You need a
Korean parents are like that. You know what? You bring that report to my house talking about you got a what? Man, look, you want to eat tonight?
Well, you know, you're right in the sense that we need to create our own, but I think it's also incumbent upon the federal government to allocate federal dollars to economically impacted areas to create more startups, right? Because the problem with Black people isn't so much about the knowledge, but it's access to capital. If you don't have access to capital, you can have all the ideas you want. There ain't shit coming off the ground. So I think if they allocated access to federal dollars for startup development, for business accelerators and startup accelerators, that would solve a lot of the issues. Because as it stands right now, if you can't even maintain a bank account at a local bank because you don't have enough funds, enough income to balance it out, chances are you won't be able to, you know, have access to startup money either. You need at least, you know, at least $100,000 invested into your startup in order to make it applicable to a functional idea, right? You factor in what a salary is going to be. You might have to eat ramen noodles for a few quarters or a few seasons, but $100,000 into a startup is better than no dollars at all. And so those federal funds that are out there is part and partial to the advancement in this area. So to your point, you do have a strong point that we need to create our own, but how do you create your own if you don't have access to the capital? If you look at Silicon Valley, how these guys are getting all of this, all their startups off the ground, no matter how many times they fail, they have always had access to capital. When Bill Gates wanted the disk operating system, which we now know as MS-DOS, from those two guys in California. I think it was at Berkeley. He offered them $50,000, but he had to go to a local bank that he was familiar with to get the money back then. $50,000 back then is probably like $1 million today in that sort of money. This was back in 1981. And those guys were idiots. They sold that operating system to him for $50,000, and today Microsoft is one of the most wealthiest companies to this very day, just based off of that one decision.
Yep. You see, one of the problems that we face is in today's market is that with the US having to spend a lot of money on the military industrial complex. You got a couple of people fighting for the funds that the federal government has. You got the wealthy who are fighting to pay less tax. And you got companies like Microsoft and Apple who, through their non-payment of tax, the government supports them by not letting them pay tax. You know, the government is actually essentially giving them money, saying, "Hey, you keep the taxes, you know, for your so you can build your corporation, or you can buy out this company, or whatever you have to do. You keep your taxes. So you don't have that taxes, but you still have to support your military industrial complex." That's why you see a lot of the roads, the infrastructure in the US is falling apart, and they can't build things like rails. Look at China, how rapidly they built up their rail system. You can't build stuff like that. A lot of people don't have good transportation systems, you know, in the areas where you live. So you need a car. Whereas it should be, a Chinese man can get on a train and travel from one city to another. Even small cities in China now are getting rapid rail, high-speed rail. So it's here in America, you got this fight for the limited amount of federal funds, and with us as Black people who are not aligned with one another. You know, you got the preacher who is supporting the president because he's a Christian. You know, he didn't say, "Look, we're gonna put you in we might be Christian, but we get our members to put you in office, you gotta support us. Otherwise, you know, we're coming after you. We're gonna hold your foot, we're gonna put our foot on your neck and remind you that you got our help to do what you gotta do." So, and then that's not happening. You know, you got Black congressmen who are willing to sit around for 20 years and, you know, don't do anything. So there's a big problem with us getting finances through the government. Yes, there are these little programs, you know, but the type of programs that we need, we're not getting.
Well, I mean, I've talked about this before. Your library is publicly funded, so it's not like the money is not there. The money is there, so you can leverage your public library for these very same endeavors. You know, I know here they have financial literacy courses hosted by the Bank of America within the library itself every month.
Well, that's
gotta do a
in
sign.
your state.
Yeah, I'm using that as an example of what can be done.
But what about in states, say for instance, Florida? Florida is one of those states. You got New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, California, Texas, you know, Illinois, maybe Washington, you know, those states that you can consider them to be somewhat wealthy states. Florida is one of those states that are down the line, you know, number 20, you know, thing. And then you got states like Mississippi and Alabama, where I went to the library the other day saying, "Hey, what kind of computer classes do you sponsor?" "Well, we don't have any classes, and we don't know if we're going to have one. We're planning for January, but we don't have anybody who will teach the classes." all the libraries in the area where I live had the same problem.
Mhm,
And I don't believe it's not that they can't find somebody,
mhm.
the money. Because if you're gonna go to work for a library making $15 an hour,
No, libraries don't pay that. Libraries pay pretty well because they're state institutions. So there's a pension, there's things like that that go with it. I know librarians that make $100,000. So librarians are very well taken care of.
well, something there's a reason why they don't have people in none of the libraries in the area.
Yeah.
And there were about 5 different cities in the area where I live at.
Well, librarians are very skilled. It's a very skilled position. So it's hard to fill that role unless you have somebody who's very much skilled in it. It's not just somebody who manages books. There's also how they manage information as a science. So there's a lot that goes into a librarian. They build out systems and stuff like that. So what you may be seeing is the person at the desk, but you're not seeing the input the data infrastructures and stuff that go into being a librarian. So I think that may be what you're missing.
Well, I wasn't looking for a librarian. I was looking for computer classes.
No, I'm saying no. I'm saying you said why they don't have enough instructors and things of that nature. A librarian is a very skilled job. I used to think that they were just useless too. I thought that they just checked out books and stuff like that. But no, these people are very skilled, and command a high salary too. So I think the problem is how do you get someone to work for lesser pay if your budget cannot accommodate that sort of person, right? So libraries are usually funded if they're not privately held, they're usually funded by the state and the local city, right? So the local municipality. So
Right.
your property taxes go into paying for things like that. And
Right.
if you have a lot of people who have moved out of somewhere like Florida because of flooding or some other act of Mother Nature or act of the economy, then yeah, you're gonna have harder time being able to fund a role like that because you have less money coming in from the taxes. So that I was just making that point. I'm not saying that you were wrong. I'm just saying that
No, no,
there's a
no.
nuance. There's a nuance to it. So
Right.
mhm.
I'm not familiar with me. I just look at a librarian as being a librarian and the computer tech who's teaching the class in the library as a separate entity. And
Mhm.
the way you explained it, it doesn't appear to be that
Mhm.
way.
Mhm. All right, let's close it out, man. Thank you all for joining us, and please hit the like button if you have not already done so. Share the video if possible, and hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. And if you want IT mentorship, you're trying to get into IT as a career, we can help you with the mentorship aspect. And if you want to transition from one IT role to another, we can also help you out with IT coaching. If you want your resume looked at and salary negotiations discussed on a potential role, we do offer that as well. And if you're looking in the tri-state area to get into IT, the Golden 11 does have Rex um, jobs available on his desk. Just make sure you drop your comments at the end of the live stream in the comment section so that saying that you want to get in touch with one of us and we will get back to you. Peace and shalom.